Understanding and performing pelvic assessment at term is a core competency, and all students must learn to perform this. It is easy to understand and learn after watching this video, but to master this, you must practice this more, preferably under supervision of seniors. The pelvic assessment is done in all patients at the onset of labor. In primigravida and those patients who have not delivered normally vaginally before, it is done at 38 weeks of pregnancy. The prerequisite for this clinical assessment is that the patient should empty her bladder and the rectum should not be loaded. The patient is asked to lie down in dorsal position. It is easy to perform when the patient abducts her legs and flexes them at hip joint. This can be achieved by asking the patient to hold her knees and bring them gently over the abdomen and to hold them wide apart as far as possible without discomfort. The clinical assessment of pelvis is divided into three components: the assessment of the inlet, the mid cavity, and the outlet. At each level, the diameter, which is shortest, is assessed first. At inlet, we measure antero-posterior diameter by assessing diagonal conjugate. In the mid cavity, we measure the distance between two ischial spines, and at the outlet, we measure distance between two ischial tuberosities, which is the transverse diameter of the outlet. For accuracy, the assessor must know the distance in centimeter between the tip of his middle finger and base of the thumb. Second, the distance between tips of two stretched middle and index finger to assess the mid cavity. And third, to measure the distance between two ischial tuberosities, he must know the distance between four knuckles of the closed fist. Coming to the inlet. Inlet has three antero-posterior diameter. First is the anatomical, which is from the top of this promontory to this sacral promontory. So pubic symphysis to sacral promontory. This is anatomical. The second is obstetric. This is less than the anatomical because of thickness of this pubic bone. These two diameters cannot be measured clinically. So the diameter which can be measured clinically, and that is the third antero-posterior diameter of the pelvis, is called diagonal conjugate. Clinically it is measured by inserting the fingers and trying to reach the sacral promontory. Normally, if you see the distance between the tip and the base of the thumb, it is not 11 centimeter for normal hand. That's why you cannot reach the sacral promontory. But if your hand is too short, that doesn't mean that the pelvis is adequate. The distance we measure is then extrapolated to calculate the actual antero-posterior diameter, which is slightly less by 1.5 centimeter. For the adequate antero-posterior diameter of the inlet, the diagonal conjugate should be 12 centimeters. Coming to the mid cavity. Mid cavity of the pelvis is the roomiest part of the pelvis where the rotation of the head occurs. The smallest diameter in the pelvis is between these two ischial spines. Otherwise, the mid cavity is circular except for these two ischial spines which jut inside and make the diameter smaller. This diameter is assessed clinically by trying to palpate these two ischial spines simultaneously. Now if you see like this, the distance between the two fingers can never be 9.5 centimeter, which is the biparietal diameter. It is always short, so you can never touch the two ischial spines simultaneously. So people try to do like this, which increases the distance, which is not correct. Ideally, it is image mapping in your mind. You try to palpate this ischial spine and then go to ischial spine and mentally judge the distance. If you try to do like this, you can never palpate both the ischial spine together. If you try to palpate like this, you can palpate like this, but you will not have the mental image or mapping of whether these two ischial spines are adequate or not. So try to feel these two. Next comes the distance between the ischial spine and the sacrum, which is the ligament which is present, sacrospinous ligament. Now, in association with sacrospinal of this, in a pelvis where the walls are convergent, if you see, they become small and together. The distance between sacrum and the ischial spine becomes small. That's why the distance between of this ligament becomes less, and that's why it cannot accommodate the two fingers. It is a misnomer that you can insert your finger into this foramen. No way. It is all covered. You have to judge this distance. For all practical matter, if the distance between the two ischial spine is wide enough, that automatically indicates that the sacrospinous ligament can accommodate two fingers. Stop. Outlet of the pelvis. The shortest diameter in the outlet is the distance between two ischial tuberosities, which is measured by this 4-knuckle test to see whether the distance between two ischial tuberosity is adequate or not. Now if you say the fist of each person, this distance varies. Ideally, it should accommodate at least 9.5 centimeter, which is the biparietal diameter at term. The second assessment which we do in the outlet is this subpubic angle, which is acute or obtuse. Now why it is important to measure is a concept called waist space of Morris. Stop. Now understand the concept of waist space of Morris. Now I will explain you the concept of waist space of Morris. This is the subpubic angle and this is the head. Now if the angle is wide, the head can have more space. If this angle becomes narrow, the head is pushed down. Because of this, it can cause perineal tear and cause pressure lower on the anal region. But at the same time, if this angle is acute, it protects the urethra and the bladder. But in case of flat pelvis where this angle is very wide, this head can have friction and may cause injury to the urethra and the bladder. So, outlet, this transverse diameter of the outlet and assessment of the subpubic angle is very, very important. Now, when you do the clinical assessment of the pelvis, at least you should write 3 findings on the case paper. The first is diagonal conjugate, whether measurable or not measurable. If measurable, the distance. The second, the distance between the two ischial spine or interspinous diameter. And the third finding you must write is TDO. These 3 should be documented clearly when you do pelvic assessment. I repeat, diagonal conjugate, interspinal diameter and TDO. This should be documented. Stop. Pelvis. The gynecoid pelvis is the most common where the side walls are not very convergent. The side walls are more or less parallel. So
this transverse diameter of the outlet, all the ischial tuberosities are slightly outside, if you see, away or outside from this ischial spine. Female gynecoid pelvis typically is explained as the short section of a large wide funnel, while android pelvis is typically described as a deep cut of a narrow funnel. Of all the pelvis, android pelvis is the worst for the patient. Why? Because it allows the head to be engaged because the inlet is adequate, but progressively, because of converging of the wall, the mid cavity and the outlet gets smaller and smaller and the head gets stuck. Stop. Coming to the cephalopelvic disproportion. It is the assessment of the size of the head in relation to the pelvic inlet. If the head gets engaged, it automatically rules out cephalopelvic disproportion. But knowing only cephalopelvic disproportion is inadequate, because even if the head gets engaged as in android pelvis, that doesn't mean that it can deliver vaginally. So pelvic assessment is one part and assessing for cephalopelvic disproportion is another part. There are two ways of assessing cephalopelvic disproportion. One, clinically by inserting the finger and trying to push the head inside. Though it is described in the book, it is very difficult to practice. You cannot just push your head like this, because to head to go inside it needs flexion. The attitude of flexion is very important, and the contraction and retraction of the uterine muscles which pushes the head inside. Stop. To the dystocia because of the passage, there are three P's: the passenger, the passage and the power. Power is of the uterine contraction. Passage is the fetus or fetal head, and the passage is the bony pelvis. Of all the things, it is very important to see the adequacy of mid cavity and outlet, especially of mid cavity. If there is cephalopelvic disproportion, still you can give a trial of labor and see with the molding and with good power if the head can go inside. So you have adequate time to judge and wait and give trial for cephalopelvic disproportion. But you cannot give trial if you suspect the mid cavity contraction, because once the head gets jammed, there is a chance of arrest. It can be a deep transverse arrest or only arrest at mid cavity, and then when this occurs in the second stage, you have to hurry for cesarean section or instrumental delivery. Now in modern obstetrics, we don't do instrumental delivery when the station is above +2. That's why it is very important to judge the mid cavity of the pelvis. The outlet of the pelvis can marginally be increased with the episiotomy, but it is the mid cavity which is to be assessed properly in any type of pelvis. Now, in the pelvis, if you see this whole pelvis, you can mentally divide it into two compartments, the anterior compartment and the posterior compartment. The anterior compartment is adequate if the two ischial tuberosities are wide and the subpubic angle is wide. If it is narrow, if it is like a cone like this, there is lot of wastage of space and the anterior compartment may become inadequate or it may push the head posteriorly or down. Similarly, the posterior compartment, if you see, the most important is the hollow of the sacrum. If the hollow of the sacrum is good, the posterior compartment is good. If the hollow of the sacrum is not good, if the sacrum is flat, it occupies the space in this mid cavity and the posterior compartment becomes inadequate. So while judging the pelvis after, you must see whether the sacrum has a good hollow curve and see if there is beaking or coning in the anterior compartment.
At the end, the important points to note: for pelvis to be adequate for the average size of baby, the diagonal conjugate at inlet should be 12 cm. The bispinous distance in the mid cavity should be 10.5 centimeters, and TDO, the transverse diameter of outlet, should be 11 centimeters. The subpubic angle should be obtuse or wide, 90 degrees or more. For assessment of these competencies, like long answer questions, short answer questions, MCQs, or multiple choice questions, please see the details in the description of the video and follow the link. Thank you for watching this video. For more details on assessment and other resource material, visit the link at www.aclinic.in/elearn. For any other queries, comments, email at hemandamle@gmail.com. This video was produced by Dr. Hemant Damle, Professor, Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Srimati Kashibai Navle Medical College, Pune, India, in association with other faculty members of the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology.